Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at the dollar, we're going to look at the exorbitant privilege and what that means, and we're going to look at energy because commodities are becoming much more important in this age of deglobalization, in this age of geopolitical uncertainty, and also in the age of the move to a renewable energy, green energy. And you might have your opinion on that, but be as it may, there are some interesting developments going on in the energy sector. Before we go further, I just wanted to reference a quote by the Secretary of the Treasury, John Connally, back in August of 1971. And he was attending a G10 meeting in Rome. And this is what he said to his foreign counterparts. The dollar is our currency, but it's your problem. Well, I'm going to counter that. And I would say that 52 years later, the dollar is not our problem anymore. And by our, I'm specifically mean the BRICS nations and also the BRICS expansion that we've seen in the last few months. Or back in August, it was announced that 6 major oil producers and other countries were joining BRICS from the beginning of the year. So to help you understand what John Connally said, I'm going to reference this book here, The Price of Time by Edward Chancellor, which I highly recommend and have recommended of recent. And this is what he says on page 251. The chapter is The Mother and Father of All Evil. He's talking about the dollar standard. And he says, if the gold standard was characterized by its golden fetters, the chief vice of the dollar standard is its extreme elasticity. Central bank reserves are mostly composed of dollar-denominated securities, U.S. Treasury bonds and agency debt, which, unlike gold, can be issued without limit. As the keeper of the world's reserve currency, the United States doesn't need to maintain its own foreign exchange reserves, nor worry about its balance of payments. There's no limit on how many dollars flow abroad, nor how much the United States borrows from foreigners. America can run what Jacques Rueff called deficits without tears, and over the years it has taken advantage of this exorbitant privilege to become the world's largest international debtor. So there you go. I think the BRICS expansion, or the BRICS 11, they're focusing on commodities. They want something real in return for their commodities. And today we're going to focus on energy specifically, and not oil or gas, but actually uranium and nuclear energy. So first of all, I'll give you some data about nuclear energy in the United States and uranium. Did you know that the United States still imports almost half of its uranium from Russia, Kazakhstan, and old Soviet satellite countries? Yes, we're still dependent on the old Soviet Union and the Russians for it, even right now. The other thing that I would say is that 18.3% of electricity generation in the United States is dependent on nuclear energy. So the United States is the biggest consumer of civil nuclear energy in the world, and yet it has almost no uranium production. The other thing about uranium and nuclear energy in the United States is that support for nuclear energy is growing on both sides of the political spectrum. And recently there's been a bill passed in the United States Congress called the Civil Nuclear Credit Program, where they've earmarked $6 billion in investment in the bipartisan infrastructure law to help preserve the existing U.S. reactor fleet and save thousands of high-paying jobs across the country. And I think most of the nuclear reactors in the U.S. were built between 1950 and 1970. So we need to keep that in mind as well. So the most important factor as well that we need to keep in mind is that uranium has been in a massive bull market ever since the 2016 election, when uranium was trading around $16.50. The price of uranium has quadrupled to around $65 per pound right now. And in 2022, the EU designated uranium as green energy because we know what's going on in terms of sourcing commodities, especially from the BRICS nations. It's becoming harder and harder. Of course, the geopolitical situation didn't help the Ukraine war, but there's a lot of other things. Like I said, the BRICS are trying to move more into a system based on real goods, not on issuing credit out of thin air. And if you also look at the global ex-uranium ETF, which is an ETF composed of uranium companies, that's gone up about 267% since the March 2020 low, while the NASDAQ has gone up around 107%. In the last year or so, I've profiled a couple of uranium companies. One of them was Uranium Energy Corp, or UEC. And at the time, it was trading around $3.50. And right now, it's near an all-time high of $5, around $5. And the other one that I profiled this year, UROI, that was trading around $2. And it's now near a 52-week high, approaching $3. And there's many other uranium companies out there that are near their all-time highs or near their 52-week highs. So with that in mind, I've recently partnered with a company called Atha Energy Corporation. Its ticker symbol in the US is SASKF, and in Canada it's SASK. There's no other company in the Athabasca Basin that has nearly as much land as this company, and a lot of the companies there are already producing uranium. So basically, it's a mega exploration company. Normally, an exploration company is a small one with not much cash in the bank and with a lead geologist, and they only have one shot at it. This company, though, as I said, has loads of properties in the Athabasca Basin. They have a lot of cash as well, 33 million Canadian dollars that they raised in their IPO at $1 a share. So now let's look at the ownership of Atha Energy. Well, 36% of the ownership is held by management, board members, and insiders. And specifically, 30% of the ownership is held by Matthew Mason and Timothy Young. And who are these two guys? Well, they've been very successful prospectors in the region for the last 2 decades, and they've been instrumental in finding deposits for companies like NextGen and also ISO Energy, which are very successful uranium mining companies in the Athabasca Basin. And the other interesting thing is that they've kept ownership of these companies, 10%. They own 10% of NextGen. So they're worth a lot of money, very wealthy individuals. And Atha Energy actually owns 10% carried interest in NextGen and ISO Energy, which gives Atha Energy cash flow. So here you have two of the most successful and very wealthy prospectors in the Athabasca Basin, and they've collected this massive package of prospective uranium deposits over 2 decades. And as you can see here, they've got more property than all the other major companies in the Athabasca Basin. And let's quickly look at the CEO, Troy Boisjoli. He was instrumental in developing resources for Cameco and NextGen. He was very successful in expanding their uranium deposits, and he's the CEO of this company. So the people involved with Atha Energy have been very successful, and yeah, it's amazing that they've got 3.4 million acres of property in the Athabasca Basin. So let's recap this opportunity. Atha Energy. So Atha Energy gives you exposure to the largest land package in the Athabasca Basin, which, as I've said before, is the premier region for uranium exploration, arguably in the world. The other interesting or very important point is jurisdiction. We know that the US and the West in particular need to move away from their dependency on Russian uranium and also Kazakhstan uranium and other countries within the Russian space or sphere. And yeah, the jurisdiction is very important. The other thing as well is that Atha they haven't even started exploring. Currently, they're running the largest ever electromagnetic survey with 4 choppers in the air as we speak. They're surveying the land so they can understand where they want to start drilling. And of course, they've got plenty of cash. They've got 33 million Canadian to do that, which is more than most small exploration companies. And not only do they have a big cash position, they have the biggest cash position of any company, even the big companies involved in the Athabasca Basin. And they have a dual track approach. They can option some of their properties to other companies, or they have plenty of cash to do more acquisitions. So they're very well positioned, and they've got a very strong balance sheet. And as I always tell you guys, you need to do your due diligence, do your homework, see if this opportunity is one that you might want to be involved with. But if you want to find out more about it, though, there's a link to the website of Atha Energy below in the description. So again, the ticker symbol in the US is SASKF, and in Canada, it's SASK. And I like to thank Atha Energy also for partnering with my channel. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.